Hi, I'm Dr. Virginia LeBlanc, also known as DocV, the Pivot Maestro. Welcome to the Define Your Path podcast for those seeking to define their own path into purposed entrepreneurship. This is a show about transforming perspectives as well as inspiring and motivating you to think without a box by exposing you to global thought leaders and change agents like my guest today and legacy builders across industries on how they successfully define their path in life and business to profitability and sustainable wins. At Defining Paths, we operate in truth, transparency, and love to help you navigate the waters of your life and put you back in business. And the Define Your Path podcast is no different. It all starts in the mind. Will you be the captain or the crew? Today's spotlight, folks, is with Veitch. I'm so excited to have her here. Let me tell you a little bit about her. As a heart healer, spiritual mentor, TV show host, and best-selling author, Jewel guides emerging and seasoned spiritual coaches, healers, and therapists to shift into the new paradigm of healing. With over 2 decades of working with thousands of clients, folks, she has developed a new heart language healing technology that shows people how to skillfully melt their illusions, access their next level heart frequency, amplify and monetize their spiritual gifts, and facilitate deeper transformation in themselves and their clients. She also supports her clients to shift into higher levels of soul self, SOUL, self, connection, energy mastery, and embodied wholehearted leadership so that they can step into their next level creation and business growth. Folks, I am super excited to introduce Jewel to you today. Jewel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I am just fascinated with the work that you do, and I look forward to hearing your story and how you faced your fears to love the skin you're in and pivot into pursuing your passion and soul purpose. So, audience, hang on to your seats. You're going to want to hear every word she has to say. And in this podcast, Jewel, we only ask 2 questions, and then we just flow between those 2 questions, right? So, how have you defined your path, and how do you help others define theirs? And the spotlight is yours.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is definitely a topic that is close to my heart, and I love talking about this. And what I want to say is that I have defined my path through an evolutionary process. My own evolution has taken me into dark and light territories, and through the curveballs and the storms and the rainbows of life, I have learned to navigate in a way that is really life affirming and can support the passion and the vision that I have. And I am always defining my path. I'm always redefining my path. And ironically, actually, it is about not attaching definition along the way.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is that what I've come to understand is that when we attach definition to who we are and label who we are and what we do, that can become really limiting. And on the other flip side of the coin of that is how much possibility exists when we're not narrowly defining, but when we can hold loosely enough in a container of definition of who we are and who we're becoming.
Yes.
And defining my path for me has been a real spiritual journey. And it's been a journey of bringing together and finding that intersection point between my professional life, my personal life, my spiritual life. And on the heels of adversity and great loss in my life, I entered into a spiritual journey that has, been a couple of decades long. And I have also entered into entrepreneurship 9 years ago now. I was going to say 8, but time is flying.
Yes, it does.
And what I've come to see is that entrepreneurship is probably the most significant spiritual journey that one will ever endeavor and into. And I say that because when we step out, and as I have stepped out as an entrepreneur, as a thought leader, as a heart healer, I've really had to lay it all out and come out and, really show up in the highest integrity of who I am. And to do that, I have had to become very aware of who I am and aware of my impact. And I've worked with indeed thousands of clients to facilitate a life path unfolding for them as well. And, when we consider that we work 2/3 of our lives, I've always maintained a deep, deep connection with the necessity for us as humans to enjoy and be in joy with the work that we do. And when we can sink into the sweet spot of being in joy in the work that we do, it becomes this full expression of who we are. And when we stand really firmly in the fullest and most authentic expression of who we are, and we use the vehicle of our gifts to deliver that expression, we're able to really make a change and really make an impact on others and help people change their lives and realize their unrealized potential. Yeah. And I feel that that's so important because we seek for our entire lives to realize that unrealized potential, and we're constantly seeking. And so bringing together spirituality and the nuts and bolts of, defining your passion, defining your path, defining your gifts, really raising the frequency of those gifts into that highest expression is truly a miracle. And it's available for all humans, I believe, and not always attained by all humans. And what prevents that achievement or that, that milestone is something that I've been through, myself. And there's nothing that I teach or share or support others to do that I haven't experienced myself, because I have always grounded my knowledge in the experience that I've been through. And what I've discovered is that when we can melt the illusions, as you said in your introduction, thank you for that great introduction too, by the way.
You're most welcome.
Is that when those are melted, what's left is this beautiful, clean and clear and pristine space. Yes. For us to recognize ourselves, recognize our highest gifts, recognize and tap into that intuitive guidance that lives within all of us, and lead with heart. And that really matters to me. Leading others to lead with heart means that I have to lead myself from, through, and with heart as well. And so yeah, that's a long-winded answer to your question about defining my path, but it's really been, yeah.
No, it's perfect. There were so many nuggets there, and I don't even know where to start. But I think the thing that struck me first was the whole defining and redefining, but not getting stuck in the structure of a definition. That is the thought. What I hear you talking about, I just authored a chapter in a book called Inspired Living, and that's the journey, about, understanding that you can redefine, and that you do can turn your pains into your passions and discover your soul purpose. So I love how you laid that out so perfectly, so succinctly and clearly. And you started talking also about just intuition and following the intuitive part in us, which I actually talked about that in the book as well. Life just gets so busy and we get stuck. And, it's like our intuition is trying to speak to us, and spirit is trying to speak, and we have to bring that conscious. Talk a little bit more about that. Because, sometimes people get stuck and they might think, just spiritual talk or, our soul talk or what have you is woo woo. Let's make it plain for them.
Yeah. Okay. So what I know is that our intuition is the voice of our soul. It's the voice of our heart that is speaking to us. And we cannot hear it when the noise is too loud. And the noise comes from prior patterned, conditioned programming that we've been, trained to live inside of, that isn't congruent with who we are. And so what I'm coming to see more and more and more all the time is how we as humans learn to understand who we are based on the translation of the external. So, our mind, our ego will look at external forces and opinions and expectations of, societal and parental and educational and all of that we've grown up in, and look at those points as reference points to inform us about who we are. And when that happens, our reference point is no longer the heart. And that's, the heart heart language healing technology that I've developed is really surrounding releasing the noise, dissolving the noise in order to truly hear the voice of the heart, the intuitive intelligence. The heart intelligence is highly, highly tuned, but we can't hear it because we're so immersed in the programming. And I'm sure that you've interviewed lots of people who have talked about programming and, negative self-talk and all of that, but it's so pervasive in our system because thought is energy. And when our energy system is doing this all the time, if you think about circuitry, energy is constantly moving. And if it's, bumping up into this programming, then there's no clear path to truly hearing and to truly, coming eye to eye with, and I'm talking about the seeing eye, the all-seeing inner eye to eye with what our heart is actually speaking and what our heart has to say. And it feels very, very simple. And it is. However, it's very, very difficult at the same time because of the programming being so predominant and, really inhabiting the neural pathways in our brains. And so it's very much intuitively. I feel that the cultivation of our intuition is something that we can sure work on. Absolutely. And there's a way to do that through the heart. And the more we build that muscle of intuitive heart speak, I call it heart speak.
I love that.
The more the resonance of what we're saying, what we're doing, how we're acting, how we're being and showing up and having impact is matching the highest frequency of that, of that expression, that self-expression that I was talking about. And then we can truly make a difference from a place of integrity and authenticity versus a place of pushing and trying and forcing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that was brilliant. Because the whole social cultural piece, that programming piece, it teaches us to lead with the head and not the heart, and so, flipping that paradigm, and actually, leading from the heart, because, also that is a part of the whole self-love piece. And learning to love the skin that we're in, who we are, what, and embracing that, and then going to the mind. So I love the fact that you have developed that concept and that technology to help teach people about. So let's get into that second question. How do you help others define their path, like with your designs?
I've assisted so many people along the way, and practically speaking, both in a private, a private format, and also in group formats, and also, hosting a TV show and speaking and sharing and teaching. And how I help people define their path is really, there are the two pieces. There are the practical pieces, and then there are the internal spiritual pieces. And the practical pieces being things like, what are you good at? What were you good at as a child? We have all these assessments that are available around what are your personal attributes, what are your characteristics, what are your skills, all of that is more practically based. And what I found, I was a career practitioner for 20 years with the government. And what I found about the tools that were available, AKA these assessments, was that they would get us started, but they would never really show us what was underneath those discoveries. And so that's the more intangible piece, and really I facilitate healing in others so that the parts of them that have been contracted and the dense energy that's, keeping them stuck and therefore unclear about their path and unclear about not only what their gifts are, but sometimes even if people know what their gifts are, there's this block around being able to fully express them. So I facilitate healing in people in order to be able to then step forward and tune into that higher frequency of their gift so that they can really have the impact on the world that they're, that they were born to make and become who they were born to be. And I provide roadmaps that are both practical and spiritual. And I teach people how to learn about their own internal landscape as they walk in their life. And as they follow their roadmap and as they develop their own roadmap in their own way, because everyone has a very unique voice. Everyone has a very unique platform in terms of, their physical essence. Everyone has their own unique essence and everyone has their own unique expression. So 3 people could have the same gift, but not one of those 3 or 300 people will have the facility to express that and reach others the way that they do very, very uniquely. So that's part of what we do, is we really have a look at the genius underneath the gifts and how that highest expression can be brought forward in them, unlike anybody else on this planet. Because like you and I, we each have our set of gifts and we're having a conversation, and the way we speak and what we offer is very, very unique to us. And so we have this blueprint within each and every one of us. And that's what I truly love. That that's one of my favorite things, is really like plucking that blueprint and, shining the light on it and helping and facilitating someone to see their own unique DNA.
Yes, it's an amazing thing when they have that aha moment and the light bulb goes off.
Yeah, isn't it?
The problem solution. There's nothing that feels greater.
I agree.
Yeah. So again, just so much there. Let's talk about how. So who comes to you? Who do you serve? And I'm sure you initially meet with some resistance, because as we said a moment ago, it's such an unnatural experience as to how we're taught, how we're brought up. Just leading from the heart and opening up to be able to receive and find those passions, their own unique set of brilliance.
So to answer the question, who comes to me, I work very much so with other healers. I work with a lot of coaches who are spiritually oriented, because my orientation is very spiritual, as a result of, being on the spiritual journey for a couple of decades. And spiritual teachers, yoga teachers, therapists. And the reason why I have gravitated towards working with this population is that I have also come to see that there is indeed a new paradigm of healing that is asking to be embraced at this time in history right now.
Yes.
And I on my TV show, I did a whole show about the healing into purpose, this new DNA of healing. And it really, in a nutshell, is premised on the fact that we do not heal because we are broken. We, and what happens with so many healers and coaches and many people is that they're getting caught in this endless healing cycle of healing, and then, feeling okay and receiving this temporary relief, and then encountering something in life, as we do, and then realizing, I thought I'd healed that thing. And so it perpetuates that erroneous belief that there's something broken to be fixed.
Yes.
Versus understanding on a visceral, on a cellular level, that we are already whole. We are already healed. We are all, and the process of healing that leads us to, be able to do the work that we're born to do in the world is indeed an expanding process. It's a generative energy. So healing isn't I'm going to fix this and then I'll be okay and it'll be fixed, because that keeps us in that loop of it's broken. Right. But it's an expanding energy. So it continues to expand us all the time. We are healing right now by having this conversation. We are experiencing some expanding, I'm experiencing some energy in the back of my spine. And there's always this expansiveness in living and breathing and healing. So it's really based on the premise that we are already whole. And I am very passionate about leading these kinds of people, because I feel that healers and spiritual teachers and coaches and therapists have the opportunity to really have an impact, a powerful impact as such, to be able to help so many people join this new healing paradigm and, discover that they're already whole, and really move into the depth of and the expansiveness of possibility for their lives too.
Oh, I literally have cold chills. That's how I experience energy a lot of times. Yeah. That I love the thought, that shift in perspective, that we're not broken, we're whole. And it's just a matter of shifting that energy, redirecting the energy. Did I get that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what that does is it assists us in facing life, in, encountering loss, tragedy, adversity in a way that we can engage with it from a perspective of, there's something here for me. Like, this is part of the whole.
Yes.
And it is truly a mastery in energy, and mastering how we utilize our energy.
Yeah. And I imagine mindset plays a huge part in that, and just, shifting how we think, and just the paradigms that we operate in, that we're born into, and just the different programming we get moving through these constructs in life. So, that's absolutely brilliant, Jewel. I love that.
Me too.
So now let's talk about, so if someone, someone is facing that, that life tragedy, like so many of us come to entrepreneurship, when life happens, right? But like, how would you advise folks, or why would you advise folks, I guess I would ask, and you started talking about this a little bit on the front end of the conversation, why would you advise them to consider the entrepreneurial path as opposed to maybe staying in the employment, or being a parallelpreneur like I did for years? I'm also former government.
Are you? Oh, yes. Yes. Well, I would say that I'm fairly biased there, because I was in government for over 2 decades, and jumped into entrepreneurship. And my bias is that entrepreneurship gives us the open space to be who we are, and
Yes.
we're not living or working within a construct
Mm-hmm.
of external rules. We're making our own, and we're able to, really expand into all kinds of areas that both internally and externally, that we've never really been given a chance to do in a traditional role.
Yes.
And having said that, there are women and men that I've coached, along the way, who have received the transformation and stayed in a traditional role. However, the way that they have shown up has been different. The way that they felt about it has been different. But my bias is definitely entrepreneurship, because there's so much available here for us to feed our potential, our fullest potential. And it really is an individual choice, right? Because sometimes a traditional job can truly feed your potential as well. Often not, though, because of, the culture that we live in and the misplaced use of power. And that's a whole other conversation.
Girl, look, we're not going to go off on that one because we can go there, Jewel.
I know. Yeah.
I could not agree more. And really, it's like your heart, actually, that heart, that shifting in energy in the heart, and just the quote unquote healing, for lack of a better term, that the heart is allowed, the journey the heart is allowed to take. When you do remove yourself from, being in a toxic environment, or, and that's all I'll say about that. But, but literally charting your course, being the captain of your ship,
Absolutely. Captain, it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do not want to let you go, because
we could talk for hours.
We could talk for hours, and absolutely, you've given just so many diamonds, nuggets. If there's one more thing, because I'm gonna push this time, my producer might kill me, but I want to push it a little bit. What last words do you have for the audience? And we're gonna make sure they connect with you afterwards.
I would say that turn your attention toward the diamond within as your reference point, and let everything else be irrelevant to you.
I love it. And again, cold chills. Girl, I feel like a kindred spirit across these waves.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Because I say all the time, folks, shine unapologetically.
Mm-hmm.
And that, the pains that we go through in life, that's just the pressure that's polishing the diamond, revealing who you are. So
heat and pressure.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Jewel, thank you so much for being our spotlight today.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate having the opportunity to be here and chat with you. I hope we have a chance to chat more in the future.
We absolutely will. And I see us collaborating in the future on some things.
Absolutely.
Audience, I want you to be sure to follow Jewel Veitch on social media. Please tell the audience how they can best connect with you, Jewel.
I will leave my website. I know that things are going to be in the show notes, but my website is the easiest, www.innercorecoach.com. That's INNERCORECOACH.com. And there's a get in touch page there if anyone wants to reach out to find out about any of my programs or how to work with me.
Awesome. Wonderful. And as Jewel mentioned, folks, you will be able to connect, read our full bio, and connect from our Define Your Path podcast platform. We have to leave you. This episode has definitely done something good for me, my spirit, and my heart and my soul. Thank you so much, Jewel. Be sure to visit our virtual home to see what we're up to at definingpaths.online. It's quite a bit, and we want you to be a part of it. I'm DocV, the Pivot Maestro, and always your corner woman. Be true to you and define your path. We'll see you on the next episode.